Hello and welcome to PES Energy Update. A key talking point of the industry at the moment is energy consumption, and more to the point, the lack of energy consumption. This is a key area of concern for most suppliers in the UK. Obviously, we deal with all the suppliers in the UK and we hear their concerns, and one thing we've noticed is a lot more suppliers are getting in touch with us on a more regular basis to discuss if we've been hearing anything else from any other suppliers about energy consumption. And what I mean by that is the lack of energy consumption leaving suppliers exposed, having bought too much energy at the beginning of the contract and needing to sell the volume back to the market. Now, historically, when the market's been rising and a supplier may be over-hedged on energy, meaning that they've bought too much for the amount that's being used, they're able to sell back at a profitable position because the market has risen to the point where they are able to cover the costs of the original transaction of buying the energy and maybe even make a small profit on the sell back to the market. The difference in the situation that we currently find ourselves in is that due to lockdown, there was a significant drop in demand across the UK from both, from mainly businesses. And this has left a lot of suppliers overhedged and with too much energy that they've bought and not enough consumed. So a lot of suppliers are finding themselves in a tricky situation, understandably so. No one could have predicted, obviously, that COVID-19 was going to happen or the lockdowns were going to be implemented in quite the way that they did get implemented. So, through no one's fault, and I stress this, no one's fault, we are in these awkward situations with suppliers where well-intended customers and well-intended suppliers are at a situation where not enough energy is being consumed, and thus the supplier will need to find a way of recouping their losses. Now, the standard way of suppliers protecting themselves against this in the market is through a standard take or pay clause in a contract. You may have heard of it before, or volume tolerances used within flexible contracts. And these are effectively mechanisms, legal mechanisms within the terms and conditions of your contract that can be used so the supplier can have a degree of certainty behind the risk that they take when they agree a contract with you. So to put this into context, you go and get a supply contract with supplier A. Supplier A then secure, let's say, for example, 1 million kilowatt hours for your year of usage. You then go and use 500,000 kilowatt hours. You've got a shortfall of 500,000. You've only used 50% of what you said you were going to use. Now, most suppliers will have that take or pay clause in there. They can vary depending on supplier and what you've negotiated, but normally it would be between 70% and 130%. So that's a 70% minimum threshold of energy consumption, or a maximum of 130% of what you've said. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, why would there be a maximum threshold? Surely the more energy I use, the better it is for the supplier. Well, that's not really the case, because if you use too much, the supplier won't have hedged right for your energy portfolio. So if you've then consume, let's say, for example, 1.5 million kilowatt hours, they've got a problem because they have to go back to the market and buy the surplus energy, and there's no guarantee of where the market will be in relation to when you did your contract. So they could also be at risk there. So that's why the take or pay clauses are in there. They're not in every contract. Some suppliers do not have take or pay clauses in, but you will find that sometimes you will pay a premium for not having a take or pay clause, a fully de-risked contract. So let's assume that you are in the majority of customers in the UK situation where you do have a take or pay clause. Not to worry. I think what a good approach to do is to look at what your consumption has been during lockdown, how long you've got left on your contract, and what you envisage your business to be doing. I understand that asking you to project what you think your business is going to do in the short to medium term is a bit like asking how long is a piece of string, but in the best interests of all parties involved, both supplier and customer, free and open communication will go a long way to helping resolve these issues. You may also be thinking that you've been caught out a little. So why would you be feeling like you're caught out? Maybe you weren't aware of the take or pay clause in your contract. Most suppliers are pretty good. They have it on the first page. Some suppliers will even detail the exact amount of energy you would need to use by the kilowatt hour to be within the threshold. Others will have it in the terms and conditions, but really your broker should be speaking about that to you, or your consultant, when you're dealing with those contract negotiations, as they are a key part of any contract. So what are the different suppliers doing in relation to volume discrepancies at the moment? It's a real mixed bag. I think it depends a lot on the individual supplier's business model. There are different sorts of suppliers focusing on different markets. There are other suppliers that will actually have got away with it relatively calmly by just a bit of luck on their portfolio, or maybe they've got a diverse portfolio. Sometimes suppliers will have a large domestic portfolio that they can smear their losses over to try and protect their business interests. So it all depends on the individual supplier. What I do say is don't judge the supplier for knocking on the door if there is an issue with the volume tolerance. And my suggestion would be to work openly with your supplier or your consultant, if you have one, to come to a resolution. You may even get some suppliers trying to use it as a way to renew your energy contract. Now that is an option. So some suppliers may say, well, okay, you've got X amount as a exposure that you will need to pay us, or you can renew with us for a certain amount of time and we can effectively recoup our losses in that contract extension. May sound tempting, and it is a valid option. What I would suggest on doing is getting the supplier to demonstrate to you exactly what the exposure is in pounds value at the moment. Not just pounds value, but show you the workings out. What is it? What the amount of kilowatt hours under consumed by the times the agreed rate, and work out what that actually is. I would still suggest then going to market for your renewal, because the market's in a lower place. It might still work out in your favour to go to another supplier, take the hit, and you may even work out financially better off. But I think regardless of what the actual result is, doing the due diligence, checking the market against any punitive charges you're going to get for a lack of consumption is good practice, but also gives you peace of mind as a business that you are making the best decision when it comes to your energy contracts. I'm not going to name names of different suppliers. Everyone has a different approach, and I believe there's a lot of case-by-case basis going on. So there doesn't seem to be a blanket approach by every supplier. It really is hit and miss as to how suppliers are dealing with their different positions. It's no secret that there are some that are going to financially struggle as a result of this. There are others that are making very encouraging noises, but like all things with this, time will tell. Just like with the pandemic situation, information changes on a daily, weekly basis, just like it does in this industry, and suppliers have to respond in the best way they can to secure their business. But that doesn't have to be at the expense of your interests as well. So I think it's approaching all situations like this with an open dialogue, talking to your consultant and experts within the field to guide you through the process and act as an intermediary to come to a resolution in those situations is what we here would suggest to do. If you have any questions about take or pay clauses or your energy contract and COVID-19 and its effect on your current contractual obligations, then please feel free to get in comment, like and subscribe, or comment below this video, and look forward to seeing you again really soon. Thank you very much and goodbye.